Hello, YouTube. Go ahead and give this stream a like if you're watching this. It'll help. I saw that there's another Catholic YouTuber going live at the exact same time, so it'd be nice if this one would get a little love. Hope everyone is doing well. My video here on my channel says that now 21 people are watching. That's great. As usual, I have to watch things in my own window here, otherwise, or watch it again as if I'm watching the stream. Otherwise, I can't see what's going on in the chat. Doctor Who, yeah, go ahead and put that link you're talking about in the chat. I hope everyone is, again, doing all right. Gonna just say that my chat actually in my control center here isn't even updating. So if you put a link in there, I might not even be able to see it. That's how really wonky things are. So, thanks, Dark Traveler, for promoting it on Telegram. I appreciate that. I have a Telegram. I need to remember how to log into that. So just an update. This coming week, I'll have a We Were Warned video for you all. I had literally been digging through my archives to find the script I wrote 2 years ago for a We Were Warned video so that I could redo it because it was one of my first ones, and I got tired of people putting in the comments of that video, the audio on this is terrible, I can't understand what you're saying. So I deleted that video and after I found my script and was updating the script a little bit, and I saw that Taylor Marshall did pretty much that exact seer, and I'm going to do it anyway because I was planning to do it before he did his, so just as an FYI. Yeah, Doctor Who, if you put a link in the chat, it's probably going to require me to approve it, and right now my control center is not working too hot. Let me see what happens if I refresh it. Maybe I'll drop off. I don't know. We'll see. Because it's just saying I can't do... Oh, okay, hold on. Let me scroll up. I don't see it either in my control center, so... Elib Heist, what happened to my last Sunday stream? I went live and the lag was so bad that I was lagging out for 5 minutes at a time, so I finally ended it. The system was bad, and I called AT&T to try to get service with them, and their people were so incompetent on the phone that I just hung up in frustration. So my options are to stay with the terrible internet service I have and maybe upgrade the service if that'll help at all, or deal with the pain of trying to get service with AT&T. The only other options are basically tiny little rural internet providers. Hello to you in Ireland as well. No masses in England. That's awful. No masses in England. That's ridiculous. But yeah, in a really dark place today. I don't know why. Well, I know why. It's just, the headlines and things. And if you have a dissenting opinion right now, you are destroyed. It's utterly ridiculous right now. Thomas Keller, you work for AT&T. Yeah, they do suck. I had a salesman about a year ago show up at our door, offering to bundle us with our cell phones with the internet, and it sounded great. And we tried to do it and found out we didn't qualify. And so we sent all their equipment back, and they spent months trying to send us a bill. And we couldn't even get through on the customer service to tell them we had called them and canceled the service. So we did call them and cancel the service, and they told us it was canceled, but they sent us a bill every month anyway, and it went to collections. I hate that company so much. Literally. Yeah. Thomas Hamilton, your prayers are with those y'all in leftist occupied dioceses or the masses being suppressed. Yeah, any of you who are in those places right now where the bishops are more preoccupied with things going on outside the church and still not letting you go to Mass, even though at this point the CDC says, all this stuff was probably a bad idea. Yeah. The society have Mass... the SSPX in some places are not having public Masses either. It depends really on the priests. Brendan Smith, if I talk about what I really think about those riots, I'll get my channel nuked. That's all I'll say. To give you an idea, I used the R word, that I just said, in my video on my recording of Vigano's letters this morning. I almost didn't censor it at all, except for using the affliction word instead of what the actual thing he said. And normally the censorship review for a video takes 10 to 20 minutes. That one took over an hour because they ran it through several of them because I used that word, because I was referencing current events. So yeah, I can't talk. It's one of those things that if you talk about it, you could put on a list. It's so ridiculous. Jeep guy, making reservations for masses is pretty normal at this stage of things. I'm watching my email for when my parish is sending out their mass sign up notification. That'll happen for us at 5, 6, or 7 o'clock tonight. Aaron Hook, I did enjoy the infomercial. I popped it. I was taking some time after mass to get a little more revision on my dissertation done. I'm writing my literature review on sustainable development stuff, and I'm in the home stretch of it, sort of, for that part. But then I've got a lot of other revisions to make that I'm not even sure what they are at this point, because I haven't even really looked at the recommendations set by my committee. I just did those parts. Because I remembered offhand that I needed to do those things, and I looked explicitly at their notes for that stuff. But anything else, I don't know what it is yet. Croatian War Master, yeah. I would say that the chances that we're in a color revolution right now are pretty high. Go look at what happened with law enforcement and their resignations going on across the country right now. It's really terrifying. Confession by appointment, that's ridiculous. The traditionalist priestly fraternities, it's funny. They comply a lot of the times. They just do. No masses in Michigan either still. That's so ridiculous. Mass has begun, but no more Latin Mass available. Of course not, Teresa. That's no mass in Brazil. So much for the biggest Catholic nation in the world. Oh wow, Ronald, that's astonishing. But there you go. It's in Ireland. You still have them. You have at least confession. Having confession available, trust me, is priceless. That's almost like divine intervention. Hearing that's in Dublin that's good news. So if you're in Ireland and don't mind the drive to Dublin, there you go. Teresa Nelson says that your diocese you can receive on the tongue at the end of Mass. Okay, good. Doctor Who, your comment about that I had to approve it because for whatever reason, I don't know why. Like I said, they're really clamping down. Do these people understand that they're most guaranteeing they're going to have a second thing soon? Yes, Thomas Keller, so that they're sort of banking on it. Have you noticed how quick? I mean, if you've seen the footage of the guardsmen who are doing their little TikTok dances and everything else. It's like they're itching for it. Your local Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest is reopening public mass next Sunday. That's good. The traditionalist parish I go to is only having low masses, which it's the mass, so I'm thrilled. But still, it's interesting to see how the Institute would handle low masses. I know that they do them, but First it was Minnesota, now Wisconsin is fighting back. Minnesota's fighting back? I must have missed something. Have we heard any more about the census, about dioceses? I have not heard anything about that. I've been following the news, but those kind of things can take a while. Aaron Hook, I agree that that the situation is getting pretty out of control, and I guarantee you that what these people really want, is the president to take control of the situation and want him to use the guard and authorize them to use, well, to go full bore. That's what they want. They want a catastrophe. It's all pointing to one thing. I know how these people think. I used to be one of them, so. Could I give Malachi Martin's take on the New World Order sometime? That's not a bad idea. I should do that. Plus, it'd be nice to go revisit all those interviews of his with Art Bell and go back into the Keys of This Blood and Windswept House. Fun fact, the Windswept House is not about the satanic infiltration of the church. That's a part of it. The real story is about the European Union and how that and the Israeli branch of the Lodge, which seems to be running all of the lodges in the world, which, if you know anything about the Lodge, isn't surprising. They're essentially trying to establish the world government, and they have all the creepiest factions in the world helping them. That's what Windswept House is actually about. But I should go look at Malachi Martin's take on the New World Order, because that would be a cool video, I think, if I can just figure out how to talk about it, to do all that work and then not have it get suppressed by the powers that be. Oh, Doctor Who, there are a set of contest masses in Michigan and Brazil, Michigan and Fraser at Our Lady Queen of Martyrs, Brazil at St. Joseph Seminary. That's the thing, like, if, strictly speaking, if you look at the, people call Sedevacantists schismatics, but, having essentially what would be considered an erroneous take on who the Pope is, or if there is even a Pope, doesn't make you a schismatic. Schismatics try to establish their own hierarchy. That's why the Orthodox are schismatics, and that's why Protestants are schismatics. Not claiming to claim that there isn't a Pope. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to a Sedevacantist mass, but then again, we may find ourselves pretty quickly in a place where that's the only option. So, who knows? Like, the way things are headed right now, it could get really bad. What do we know of the Holy Ghost Society? Because I'll be visiting. I don't know much about I've not heard anything about the Holy Ghost Society. Does anybody have by the way, any information on a non-charismatic devotion to the Holy Spirit? I'd be curious. Pre-conciliar, I don't want to touch, when he foaming at the mouth, rolling around on the floor, praying in tongues and stuff. But any pre-conciliar approved traditional devotion to the Holy Spirit. If anybody does, go ahead and email it to me. I'm just curious if such things exist. The governor in Michigan, the governor says protesting her law is racist and misogynistic. And there she was protesting against the yeah, Teresa, I know you've got a special one there, and that person is apparently high on Joe Biden's list for vice president. And apparently, the Vegas odd makers are have Biden up a lot right now. Those are the ones that pay attention to. That one is what is interesting. Again, I'm not, people think I'm really wild about, the current president. I'm not. I just think I find the alternative to be utterly just terrifying. The Latin Mass chaplaincy in Dublin had formed a St. Philip Neri oratory shortly before the thing hit. Wonderful blessing to protect the old Mass for years to come in Dublin. Good. That is good news. I have to be careful doing a video on the Lodge as Croatian because I've seen a number of channels that have gotten shut down even using the word Lodge, and I thought that was good enough. So I need to find a different code word to start talking about them. I need to find one fast. Is there a single historical case of a communist government not being established through a civil war? That is a good question. I can't think of one. In fact, they always come about that way, and then do you know who after they come to power, do you know who they get rid of first? It's not the reactionaries. They're second. The first people they get rid of are their organizers. The rabble rousers. All the people I went to college with. That's who they get rid of first, because they know too much. Croatian War Master, I can post it on BitChute. No. BitChute's my backup. I am not going to switch to BitChute. If I do that, you'll have to explain to my wife why I can't feed my family anymore. Post a link. Post a video that's accessible by link rather than public. No, if I post a video to YouTube at all, it goes through the censoring process. Any video that gets put up on YouTube goes through that. In fact, actually, when you upload a video, it actually recommends that you make it unlisted or private and let it go through its process. They don't call it a censorship process, but that's what it is. And I do that. The members of the channel know that on Wednesday or Thursday morning they get an email with every single video I have for starting for Friday, Saturday to Friday, the 2 Saturday videos and the Sunday video. So yeah, like, and I do those ahead of time because they take a while to go through. Not a friend of Mark Goring. I'm not a fan of charismatic Catholicism. I know its roots. I know that it got its start in Protestantism. People deny that, but it's true. Once you look at the Americans who were at the forefront of it, it's rooted in Protestantism, and I'm just not into it. And I know what most of the exorcists say. Most of the exorcists say stay away. That's good enough for me. And my brief interaction with it was very unsettling. It was as if there was something seriously wrong in the room. So clear that all they care about is power, using this crisis to get their sick agenda, especially trying banning Latin Mass even for those who voluntarily participate in it. Yeah. Have I heard of the Orthodox Father Seraphim Rose? Well, if you're reading stuff that's making you consider converting, you should not convert because there's no salvation outside the church. You're putting your soul at stake. Don't leave the church. Stop reading that guy if that's the case. And no, I'm not going to read him. There are news agencies touting the potential new candidate may be parachuted in to take on the president and lead the party of Moloch, as Biden doesn't seem to be getting much traction. Well, he's allegedly leading in the polls. I don't know. There's that, and then there's the narrative of the secret voter for the president. I don't know. I'm not a huge guy for the president. I just, at this point, how anybody could, with a conscience, can vote to put in people who seriously think that the medical Moloch practice should be legal up until the point of birth, and for some of these people after birth, I don't know how anybody in conscience could vote for that party. The only example of communists coming to power without a civil war would be Chile in 1970. Okay, yeah. Well, did Evo Morales come to power also through a election? I thought he did. I thought it was through some agitation, but there wasn't any thing. Is Vigano the present hero of the real Catholic Church? The president? I don't know. I put up his letters, but at least one of them recently I was a little put off by because there was at least one factual error there. So, but I'm not going to say which one it was. You should be able to figure it out. Tony G says, see ya. Well, if you don't like my take that I don't like charismatic Catholicism, then I'll see you later. Hello to you, healing. Do I have to go into the sacristy somewhere to get? I'm not sure. Mr. Joy says that Orthodox priest writings are typical ortho polemics, arguments that are easy to debunk. Do a video about the wonders of I'll leave you alone. There's a funny parody video of that actually over on TruthStream Media. That's a husband-wife team. The woman there did a parody unboxing video talking about YouTube, what YouTube expects you to do. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. That's appreciated. Gasper Merritt, I'm not one to tell people what mass they can and can't go to. I started taking my family to the TLM as exclusively, but I can't. I'm not. I've also met some very good Catholics and very good Catholic priests in the Novus Ordo, so I can't tell you not to go to which mass to not go to. You watched the High Mass today at St. James the Lesser Church, La Croix, Washington. The Stony Boys. That might work, although I'd have to. People won't know what I'm talking about at all. That's the problem with code. I'm starting to get, I use code that I've been using for a long time, but my channel's grown a lot lately, and all of a sudden I'm getting people saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I think there at some point there'll be a fracture of genius between real Catholics and the modern estate of the church. Unrecognizable to those within and outside of it. I I think when that apostasy happens, it's going to be so obvious that, yeah, you won't be able to deny it. I saw somebody say that they thought that that this is the transition period, that we are in a transition period now, between now and the that the post-conciliar era that we're in now is a transition period to the false church rise. And at some point, it's just going to be obvious when it happens, and maybe it's already obvious now. I don't know. Yeah, Stony boys. Go to a Byzantine Catholic church if no TLM is available. Yeah, if you really want a traditional liturgy, there are. I mean, I advocate for keeping to your rite as a member of identity, part of your identity. But you, as a Catholic, you should at least be familiar with the Eastern liturgies that are available to you. They're beautiful, and they're fully Catholic, and you should go and learn them. They're, you'll find some interesting different practices too. Like receiving communion in the Byzantine rite is fascinating. It's not done on the it's done on the tongue, but the priest isn't putting it on your tongue. He's got a giant spoon thing. It's really I'm sure someone's going to correct me on what that's called, but trust me, it's an interesting experience. The stone cutters. Ooh, there's a good one. It's actually not a bad one. I want to see if I might try that sometime and see if I get that immediate flag. I can make a code book on the website. Maybe, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Pin it in my comments every video. Stonecutters is code name, yeah. I'm actually kicking yourself to wonder they haven't been reported to the authorities. Yeah, there are some courageous priests out there defying like current orders and things to offer people the sacraments. Let's see what's going on in the world, though. I do go back, just for those who care, I will be returning to a keto diet tomorrow. So hopefully I'll definitely lose weight doing it, and hopefully I'll physically go back to feeling pretty good. The mortality studies for the thing right now show that it's not much worse than a bad seasonal flu, which is what people were saying at the beginning. Anybody else feel like we've been taken? I mean, it's serious. At this point, people should be angry. People should be angry. I am feeling vindicated on one thing lately, and that's that we were, all of us who've been advocating for respecting anonymous identities on Twitter and other social media, we're all feeling very vindicated right now. I'm sure you all heard that that Mr. Gordon lost his job for tweeting things out that were his opinion and his perfect right to say publicly, and some activists found him because his name is on his account, like mine is, and they contacted his employer, and he got fired. I'm sure you all heard about that, but a lot of us are now feeling vindicated. We're hoping that people will lighten up on all the good Catholics who are not putting their name and face on their social media accounts. Any good Catholic charities in England? You're probably your local food pantry. That's probably a safe one. Like honestly, they could use the money. I used to volunteer when I went to an urban parish. That's how I would volunteer at my parishes. I would work in a food pantry. They could always use resources. It's also safe. Any money you give to that is go on to the food pantry. Didn't the Simpsons use it and mock the real thing? Yes, Byron. That's what it is, and I'm hoping that's actually a really good one. I'm going to try to remember to use that. Patrick fitting in. I know that Malachi Martin said that the demons knew the new mass was not Catholic. I can only tell you from experience that I came into the church in an ordinary form, so-called ordinary form parish, and I can tell you from my own experiences that is definitely the Eucharist. That you get the Eucharist at that mass. I know the issue is more complicated than that, but I'm not a theologian, so I don't tell people what mass to go to. I expect all these issues will at some point be taken care of in the future, but I think the road between here and there is going to be so rocky. It's that people have other things they're worrying about in the immediate. Mr. Verum, yeah. I've got a lot of things. The acronym people is probably my favorite one, and I should go back to using that. It's been so long since I even touched that subject that, I was using like the term Skittles again. And I think I figured out why my video that I had to put on BitChute the other day didn't work. And it was because of the, I looked at my visuals that I put in there, and I remember when I was pulling those off the internet, you have to save images you put off the internet on your computer, right? Well, I saved them with names like Gay 1, Gay 2. And I think that's what did it. Thomas Hamilton, yeah, that's probably what will happen is, because those first few days doing keto can be really rough. Like, you feel pretty like garbage. Like, it's going to be fun trying to work out this week. The first couple days will be fine. It'll be day 3, day 4, day 5 is going to be awful, which is fine. And Fridays, when doing keto, kind of sucks too. Like, I would love to do like a bread and water fast, but when I fast with doing keto, I do a protein shake fast. Reds made life here worse, the Taco American community. Getting help from the Sinaloa Pharmacist Guild to restore law and order. Do the Red Fun runs parties to... That's really good. I mean, that's awful, but that's really good. Good old meme diets, yeah. You haven't heard him in a while either. They did leave to delay communion on Pentecost. Let's see. Thomas Keller says that Tim Gordon did nothing wrong. I mean, he has every right to disagree with the current zeitgeist. That's still your right in Western countries, on paper. And like Campbell says, I'm going to change his name here. Emperor Faucetine, as a hat tip there to Mike Church, is raising the false flag about the Mexican. Of course he is. Of course he is. And there are now indicators that there are spikes for that related to the thing going on that you have to be careful how you talk about. Funny how that works. Cynthia Lucas, why did he get fired? I mean, if you go to his Twitter, you'll see why. He explains why, but he disagreed, we'll say, with the, shall we say, main ethnic group involved in all the social activism. I'm being very nice in how I'm putting all this. And he tweeted it out in a very blunt way, and some activists hunted down all of his information and started harassing his employer. And they folded. Yeah, healing, that's kind of my thought, is like, I have my disagreements with Mr. Gordon, but he has a family that he cares for, and his duty is to support his family. And it's just so enraging. So, yeah. Yeah, Tim, he seems to be getting taken care of, which is fine, so I'm not too worried. But it's alarming. Let's see, it's June 8th, and the only people touting Alphabet Month is the FBI. Yeah, if I were a member of that so-called community, I'd be pretty angry. But if you express anger right now, well, I guess good luck to you. Eucharistic miracles happen in the Novus Ordo Masses. They do, but Valentinus, do you know what was explained to me when I first entered the church years ago from a very good deacon? He says he didn't pay that much attention to those. He could talk to you about Eucharistic miracles, and he was a permanent deacon in the new Mass. But he didn't pay much attention to them because he says they were for those with little faith, those with weak faith. He says that's what the church has always taught. So when those happen in the new Mass a lot, go back to those statistics about people who believe in the real presence. You get 98% of Catholics who attend the traditional Latin Mass, and I would presume the Eastern liturgies, although that's probably not a safe assumption, believe in the real presence of our Blessed Lord in the Eucharist. It's like 30% or less in the new Mass. And that's why I expect Eucharistic miracles happen there. It's because of just how weak the faith is statistically. Again, some of the best Catholics I know go to the Novus Ordo. Like, these are people with a faith life that who outwardly have as good as a faith life that I wish I could have. Like in terms of how strong their faith is, how good people they are. So, again, I don't judge anybody for where they go to Mass. Jeep guy waiting. Tambuchel, you tried keto as well. It hasn't been going well in recent times, but it used to be great. Yeah, I noticed as I got older that keto didn't work as well, but I got to do something that works. There's nothing was working. Like I left that pizza gig I had, that job delivering pizzas, because I could not lose weight at that place. So I left. For my health, for other reasons too. Oh, it's in what you know says that you started you had 3 of the first 5 Saturdays done and the thing struck. I'm sorry. Some guy from Houston, he's the founder of something called the St. Jude Shrine. He's apparently anti-Malcolm Martin. He recently did some interviews with someone from something called ISOC. Well, Teresa Nelson, I know Marshall's live. It's weird. He's live at the same time I usually am. Oh well. Keto isn't good for anyone with failing kidneys. Beware. Yeah, I don't have failing kidneys. I'm just trying to get rid of a bunch of fat. So, thanks, Healing, for the linguistic gymnast comment. Eucharist, steam it. I don't know what you mean by steam it. Are you talking about like the website? I think the Mediterranean modified keto is great without all the acidic meat, mainly chicken, salmon, fish, veggies, and good old beneficial oils. I'm one of those guys who can handle the heavy meats. So, in fact, I got a smoker, and I'm putting it together tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow fairly early after I get back from the gym and get a little bit of writing done. I'm going to take a break and put my smoker together because I've got a pork loin to to smoke. It's going to be great. Where do we go here? What do you think about the New York Bar Association trying to use the courts to force inoculations? They're using an old case in Massachusetts related to smallpox. That's terrifying, and my only consolation is that I have a hard time seeing the present Supreme Court going with it. But then again, Justice Roberts is a neocon, so who knows? What is my opinion on medals and scapulars? Well, I wear a brown scapular, and I have a purple scapular on my desk right now. I finally got through on a wait list for a purple scapular, and I got one. So I'm fine with medals and scapulars. Do I think the president will respond to vegan? No, probably not. I would love it if he did. Just cut out the carb, sugar, prepackaged, fabricated pseudo-foods, and you're good to go. Well, that's kind of the idea with keto, but also calories do count. That's the easiest thing in the world trap to fall into with keto. So you could end up replacing bread with delicious bacon. So, you got to still count calories. And I go to, I'm going to go work out. I work out pretty regularly. I've been nursing a weird injury lately. But I've still been going to just get some cardio in. Just to keep the habit going. Concerning the Miracles of Christ, the novel The Robe really explores this issue of faith. I haven't read it. I'm busy with other things. On Eucharistic mysteries, what is very insightful proposition. Thank you, Byron. It's just what some of the holiest people I've ever met in my life, and I met them when I was first becoming. Some of them when I first was entering the church are at the new mass. So this is why I try to be not tell people what mass to go to. So. Novella and Ernie, yeah, I'm going to. I plan to leave my streams up live. They're going to be available. So, let's see. Nick says, you heard last night the Archdiocese of San Francisco would hear the CDC guideline of asking parishioners to write down names and phone numbers for. Wow, that's creepy. If you feel that you can, if you think that you're in San Francisco, that's your cardinal archbishop. If they're going to listen, you should, because that's yeah. Marin Gasper, I'm way too smart for pizza delivery. Yeah, I did it because I started it about 3 months almost to the day before my channel got monetized, and I was at 200 job applications in at that point, and I finally got tired of living on unemployment, and so I got so I got that job. And then I got monetized, and I kept doing it anyway because I didn't think it would last. Hopefully Mr. Gordon will realize the vulnerability of workers of those in a capitalist system and have conversion to a system that is more aligned to traditional Catholic social teaching. Well, those of us who are really in deep in the work of Catholic social teaching do find it very irritating when people misuse Catholic social teaching, and that's all I'll say. But keep an eye out, because I have some projects in the works that are not videos related to Catholic social teaching, and I will be doing things with them, and you'll definitely hear about them. Thomas Hamilton, the president would have been thrown out of the Stonecutters for saying worship is essential. You're probably right. KU, fast food employment is so bad for your health. Absolutely correct. You really need iron will and a commitment to bragging your own lunch, otherwise you're going to balloon. And that is exactly what happened to me. My boss, not only did I applied to work at a pizza place whose pizza I liked, turned out the person I ended up working for was a big believer in making a pizza for every shift of people who worked there. So, yeah. Aaron Hook, thank you for the super chat. It is appreciated. Let's see. When I mentioned Skittles, you imagined you uploading a video using Skittles as a code, and the actual Skittles company sending you a letter saying, "Stop it, we don't like them any more than you do." Well, have you seen the way that have you seen the way the corporations right now are bending over backwards to go along with things? Actually, I think it was Skittles. They put out a bag. I think it was Skittles. It might be M&M's, but I'm pretty sure it was Skittles. They put out a bag for Pride Month of Skittles that were all white. Now, I want you to think about what I just said and understand that those two things should never be put together unless you're completely dense. Like, it was one of the most... I laughed hard when I saw it. Healing, thank you for the super chat. It is appreciated. Victoria Muniz, okay, I'll check your email. How many emails do I have in my inbox right now? 129. So I'll check for yours. That's not counting what I have in my personal email inbox either. You're listening to me and Marshall in stereo. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you can do that. Croatian War Master, take steroids. At my age, it's a bad idea. I had a friend of mine who took SARMs, which are sort of like SARMs are they're drugs related to, and I mean drugs, I mean that in they're pharmaceuticals related to chemotherapy and that kind of thing, but they actually had a similar effect as steroids, just not as potent. And they're always advertised to people as not having any of the side effects. Well, he took them and he started having all the same side effects as steroids, including the rage. And this is a non-Catholic but Christian guy. And he stopped taking them, and he messaged me saying, "Bro, don't take this stuff." And he actually said "bro," which made it even funnier. But he was like, "Don't take this stuff." I never did, but I was always asking him about it. So, just the old-fashioned way of diet and exercise. Let's see. Used to manage a muffin baker, wouldn't lose weight there. Couldn't lose weight there either. Oh, man. Yeah, no, don't ever work at a place where you really like the food that you serve. Like for me, I'd have to go work for... I don't know, I have to think of something, but in this area, it's all fast food junk mostly. Cheap guy, good night's rest will help with weight loss. So you too is overweight, and good night's rest help a lot. It's true, it does help a lot. I keep one of those broken sleep schedules. I'll sleep like 5 hours, then I'll get up and do some work here, go to the gym, and as long as I don't take an energy drink before I go to the gym, as long as it's just a small dose of caffeine, I'll go have a workout. I'll come home, get a little more sleep, get out of bed when my kid gets up, and so my wife can sleep. Then I'll get some more work done. Maryland started their tracking and tracing last week. I need to do a video on contact tracing, and because I've been just thinking about things and what the system of the beast would be like, right? Because people have this weird idea in their head that the Antichrist is going to show up and wave his hands and all of a sudden tyranny. That's not how it's going to work. He's going to come there and all the pieces are going to be lying around. That's because Healing, you love the encyclicals, so much easier to listen to than read. Well, thank you. I'm glad that there are people who do enjoy those, because I think those are the most important things I put up, are those and the Sunday morning videos. And those are also some of the hardest things to do, because papal encyclicals were meant to be read, not listened to. That's how they were written. You can tell when you read them. In what you wear a St. Michael scapular, navy blue and black, Our Lady on the front and St. Michael on the back. You never hear them talked about much, though. I've not actually heard of a St. Michael scapular. Send me an email with some links about information, because I actually plan to do a video that's a guide to scapulars, and I'd love to have to include that one in there. they were saying some weird stuff about Malachi Martin, among others. Thomas Keller, here's the thing about Malachi Martin. He wrote a book called The Jesuits, and he has been the target of more character assassination than I have ever seen any Catholic. Some of it warranted-ish, like, not warranted, but like, he lived a life, he by his own admission, prior to his research on his book on exorcisms, that was pretty standard liberal Jesuit stuff. And then he had his whole worldview flipped over watching those exorcisms firsthand, and he became a traditionalist. And so some of that stuff is just dredged up stuff from his own background, sort of. But I get that information from people I trust, like people I've heard who speak on this stuff who I trust on it. Like Charles Colomb has talked about this stuff in some Tumblr House stuff. But a lot of Catholics forget about repentance and they forget about conversion. It's so uncharitable. It makes my skin crawl. Trump being a free moron seems like that. That's another good one. But I'm afraid if I use that word, it'll probably get flagged. Media has never before seen bashing as evidence. Same for their efforts at throwing him out. Same is true. Yeah, no, right now I'm really actually getting worried. So you saw a priest tell the faithful to not celebrate Skittles Month, and they went after him with a viciousness and evil that you've never seen before. Yes. I call it First Deadly Sin Month, because people don't know what that is unless you really understand the faith, because then you know what the first deadly sin is. And other people understand the faith who don't know what the first deadly sin is, but for them, if I say First Deadly Sin Month, most people know. Speaking of diets, you guys make sure you still eat fish on Fridays. I do keep the fish fast on Fridays. In fact, that's I don't really like cooked fish much. So, Fridays are fun. Let's see. Okay, good, Tom Buchal. I'm glad you enjoy the encyclicals. I'm glad there are people who do listen to them. You made me notice that all my videos this weekend had a theme, and Archbishop Vigano putting his letter out added perfectly into it. It's spooky. Campbell says a guide video on a guide to scapulars would be great. Yeah, I'll try to do something like that. I don't know what day of the week I would put it up on. It might be one of those videos that the people who had clicked join or are patrons and are on Subscribestar will have early, until I make it public for a day where I put a video up about church stuff and it doesn't do so hot. Then I'll make that public second in the day or something. But I should do one soon. Yeah, Patch says, this is really important. Say a prayer for the young boy stabbed in Ireland by part of the ethnic group that is in the headlines right now, being reported on the leftists. He got his GoFundMe got taken down. So this is a guy who got stabbed, and I'm telling you, I'm getting really seriously black-pilled right now. It's a silly thought, I know, but it does seem strange that the Lavender Mafia wasn't able to get a hold of him. It has to be an act of God. Yeah. It's, all I'm saying is he wrote a book called The Jesuits. Okay? And in that book, he told the truth about the Jesuits. And later he said that book, you could apply what he said about the Jesuits to every of the major religious orders. Of course, there are good members of each of those orders still, but still. How do I feel about the Great Commission? Go out and preach go out and spread the gospel? That's what the church should be doing. That's what the priests and everybody really from the Pope down should be doing. And it's one of those things I feel like has been just abandoned. That's what makes me so worried right now. Track and trace in the UK already being used vindictively as they are targeting people and claiming they're infected. Oh, wow. Thanks, Brian. What do I think of the SSPX? Their masses are valid. They got faculties. I side with Bishop Athanasius Schneider on the SSPX. It's in which you'll send me some information. I appreciate that because I'd like to do that scapular video, and I've got some notes already for it. But Thomas Henderson, well, thank you for the compliment on the content, Layla. I appreciate it. If you don't like fish, a hearty tomato sandwich is pretty good. Yeah, I have a high protein requirement because of my weightlifting. And when I go back to low carb, tomatoes have a fair amount of carbs, but I can eat them. But I can't get very much of it. Teresa, I'm actually allergic to eggs. Mildly, but I can't eat them, which is why. Toompi Floyd laughs at black-pilled. Well, if you understand what being red-pilled is, black-pilled is sort of the we're all doomed sort of thing. Oh, Vigano, yes. Okay. Well, he seems to have disappeared, although I suspect he's in Germany, mostly because he showed up at that one protest a few months ago. The evil Jesuit order, the most inside of Catholic in-jokes. The best ones are the Irish comedy series Father Ted. That would have been blackpilled if Vigno didn't write this week. The implications brought forward are huge if true. Yeah. Listen to Grant Torino and Fiona Flanagan. They are working together against this right now. If I need to be white-pilled. Yeah, send me a link, like a video link or an article or something. I haven't done a good news video in a couple of months. That show tells you how bad things are. But I would like to. The best cure against being blackpilled is trust in the will of God and the true notion of suffering. I agree, and I always try to remember that we know how this is going to go in the end. But I keep going back to, if you remember, a couple weeks ago, I had Jacob Clearfield on, the author of of his book Anno Domini 2064, and I keep wondering if I keep wanting to send him a message asking him, where are we in your timeline for things, because like reading that book and then watching what's going on now is just so strange. Thomas Henderson, the Great Commission instructs the disciples to baptize. The sacraments come first. Absolutely. How could it ever be possible to get from where we are now back to traditional values? Almost seems hopeless. It's called the Triumph of the Immaculate Heart, and it's going to be really rough. Thomas Hamilton, yes, I agree with your comment towards Julia, so we both watch mine and Dr. Marshall's. We are not, I don't think this is in competition. I think we all should be, even if we're not going to be on the same page with each other. None of us are right 100%. So, we're just doing what we can to, defend the faith. And, that's why I find it weird when people say that, hey, I'm on this person's team. I'm like, don't be on anyone's team. Be on Christ's team. Be on Our Lady's team. Jesuit infiltration, one of the most difficult things to properly explain to evangelicals, especially if they fell for the Jesuit oath, which is really a fabrication proceeding, said infiltration. I gotta say, I have joked on Twitter that I wish that oath was real. It's just because I really wish that the Jesuits were as like competent and as organized and as half of what they say about the Jesuits. I wish half of it was true. I'm only joking, of course, but, the underlying implication is that they're really competent or super Catholic, and I wish that was all true. I do preach the good news, huh? Especially when you're reading encyclicals. Bummer about the eggs that can't eat fish. Yeah, I've been allergic to eggs since I was a kid, and my stepdad made me eat eggs every weekend. It was so gross, and it made me feel ill all weekend. Mr. Joy, evangelicals, the Jesuits are evil. Catholics, well, yes, but actually no. When it comes to protests in the UK, we've got the absurd situation of that ethnic movement protesters chanting hands up, at the unarmed Sargon of Akkad has a video I've been meaning to watch where he talks about how that movement doesn't have a leg to stand on in the UK, given the UK's history. Toompi Floyd, Taylor Marshall, more formal learning. Me, chilling with the bros. Yeah, that's probably a good way to describe his live streams. Some of his live streams too. Like I was actually watching his Blessed Aiello live stream on my way home from Mass today. By watching, I mean listening. How do we get people to believe in God and the supernatural again? You have to combat scientism. It's like the one thing I really like about Bishop Barron. If you ever go listen to his talks on scientism, he's very good at dismantling. And now we're having a problem maintaining smooth streaming. I have a better avatar than Marshall. Well, uses his face, In our charity, please pray for your niece, C.F. Healing's niece, who was baptized a Protestant. Your parents you suspect in ignorance allowed you to be her grandfather. You're now trying to talk her into going to the TLM. Yeah, keep her in her prayers, please. Have I read the 40 Dreams of St. John Bosco? I've read the dream about... I actually have on my channel the dream about the ship being guided through the pillar of the Eucharist and Our Lady. But I've not read the 40 Dreams of St. John Bosco. If you have a link, email it to me. Stephen D. That ethnic group. It's about defeating the president. Generally agree. We live in the worst cyberpunk future, absolutely. Not all the horror, none of the cool aesthetics. Hey man, we've got computers on our phone that we can access degeneracy 24/7, right? That's cool, right? Doesn't matter that we give those things to kids and they get their lives destroyed early on. How a scholar stepdad poisoned you, rough. I have a lot of disagreements with my stepdad, but he tried. So, thoughts on the Phalange of Spain. Don't know enough about them. I do recommend, though, that people in general, if you hear things from our liberal overlords, classical or otherwise, about what is acceptable in terms of politics, always take it with a grain of salt. Go find, what the church said about specific things. Like, for instance, there's, there's that encyclical that was written in German in the 1930s. Read that. That tells you one specific group the liberals are basically right on, but otherwise, sort of, I say sort of right because the group was actually socialist, not fascist, but my preferred Bible version, either a Dewey Rames Channeler or the Knox. Rebecca Phelps Sargon is your favorite atheist. I want to live in the world where we're all having debates with each other, like peaceful debates, because it wouldn't be wasting all of our time while society's being torn down. He's probably my favorite of the atheist YouTubers too, because he doesn't sit there talking about religion. He talks about like a lot of the same stuff we do. It's just these people aren't very, self-restrained. Your favorite, Verum says his favorite atheists are converted atheists. There's that. All right, Thomas Hamilton, you have a nice day. Let's see. Novella Nerney says Lepontonsi did an awesome stream on those people that matter. Yeah. Sometimes if you ever wonder why there's a popular a Catholic YouTuber who puts out good content whose channel doesn't have a lot of subscribers, and they've been around a while, go take a look at what they're talking about in their videos. If they're talking about stuff that I usually talk about in code, that's why. Is chess piece Baron a grifter or not? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. That's not even you're not even asking if he's if the stuff he said, controversial stuff. I don't know. I've never thought of him that way. There are things I have problems with him on, and there's things I don't have problems with him on. I would have no problem sitting there reading an essay he wrote on scientism. In fact, I think I quote him in my dissertation when I briefly mentioned scientism, because he's really good on that subject. Thomas Keller, phalangists are better than Opus Dei. Let's see, Byron James. Your daughter went to St. John Bosco RC primary school. She left after 7 years, unaware of his vision. Says so much. And luckily, the father has a BA in theology. There you go. Yeah, I almost think if you are a parish or a school named after a saint, you should have visible things of that saint in the parish, and they should come up at least once in a while in the homilies or in the education at the school. I went to a parish named after one of the angels, and we talked, the homilies occasionally had, talked about him. And it was a Novus Ordo parish. Let's see. Marshall's wrapping up now in prayer. Wow, he did a short stream then. It was less than an hour for him. You found out that Catholic conversion is usually based in repentance and self-reflection, as I call it, brutal self-exploration on the edge of despair. People ask me to talk about my conversion. I'm going to eventually, and I will just say this much. I had been looking for, essentially, how to fix the world in the material. And I saw I started noticing that all the best people I knew in life were Catholics, and they didn't even talk about their faith much, but there was just something different about them. And now the sad thing is a lot of these Catholics that I talk about that I refer to are people that I can barely talk to because they are self-described socialists, and it's so heartbreaking. But, even then, with that severe error that they had, the people I knew had a genuine love for Christ, and it showed. And that helped lead me out of darkness. So, I haven't reviewed Our Lady of La Salette's prophecies lately. I might want to review. Yeah, it's almost like I need to come back to Our Lady of La Salette, but I'm going to do my... Tuesday, I will, barring some massive news that breaks in the next 24 hours, Tuesday morning, you're going to wake up with Our Lady of La Salette, Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich redone. That video. It was my first We Were Warned video. I just deleted it from my channel because people have been watching it, and if they're finding that video, and I know why they're finding it, I don't want them finding it and hearing garbage audio quality and thinking everything on my channel is like that. Plus, I had said I would start going back and redoing some of those old videos that needed to be redone, and that's one of them. But Our Lady of La Salette, I probably should go back and revisit it. So, you're definitely right, Campbell. Let's see. Panama has very extreme lockdown measures. You haven't left your home in months. No mass since March and no mass in sight. Please pray for us. Yes, Victoria, I remember seeing your email. I believe you emailed me. Yeah, that's Panama. Remind me the kind of government you guys have there. I almost think that goes hand in hand with it. Also, let's let folks watch movies like Beckett, man, for all seasons. Yeah, that reminds me I need to start doing my planned film reviews. Lots and lots of content, especially on weekends. I need to get those. Keller says that Barron is a massive grifter. He just sent all Matt Fradd, Brian Holdsworth, other family, his Gold Leaf Bible. Huh. I do like Matt Fradd's work on pornography, or anti-pornography, rather. I haven't watched a Brian Holdsworth video in a long time. But, yeah, I can see why you would say that. Church Father is amazing at waking up Protestants from their preconceived ideas of what the church looked like. You know, Varum, there was the Deacon Alex Jones, not of the tinfoil hat fame, and I don't say that in a way knocking he's right way too much for my own comfort lately, but Deacon Alex Jones was an African-American Presbyterian or Pentecostal preacher from Detroit who decided he wanted to make his church services on Sundays more like the first century Christians. So he started reading the Church Fathers. Short story long, led to his conversion. And he applied to become a priest with Rome, but they denied him, so he became a deacon. He was able to become a deacon because he was married. And when he would tell his conversion story, he would go into Pentecostal mode. And it was the only time I ever thought that was cool, was because it's not a mass. So if he wants to, get all, fired up like that, and he died recently, like a couple years ago, so I'd keep him in your prayers. But he had a true love for the Lord, and it was so cool to listen to him. And again, this was a figure in the Novus Ordo. So fake review, cool dude. I don't know what you mean by a fake review, but no, I did need to do my film reviews of certain things. Like there's a EWTN documentary I want to do first. I just flipped. Julius C. saw you flip from Marshall as he was dissing Bishop Barron Big Style. That's why he came here on a contrary bunch. I try not to rip on people if I can. Like, I mean, there's some people I can't help it. Like, have at it with Pastor Jimmy Martin. But do I think we'll see a return of the Desert Fathers? You mean like the lifestyle of the Desert Fathers? Possibly. I mean, I know that there are people now pushing the Benedict option again. I'm not wild about the Benedict option, partially because I'm not wild about the author. But, all right, Teresa Baker, I have to approve your comment here. Just don't listen to Bishop Barron if you want to know about hell. You have to be careful with Barron. He's into Catholics who aren't very. Yeah, when it comes to, like, the hardline theology, I'll stick to, like, the traditionalist teachers. That's just what I'll do. No, Novelle, no Verne. Beckett is a great movie. O'Toole was sober at least 10% of the time. I've heard about them. Aaron Hook, what's my view of monarchy? I'm generally pro-monarchy. I'm anti-Masonic institutions in general. Peter Jens, you still have an affection for Mr. Jones. He's like a crazy uncle who's kind of kooky. I have to say, if you can handle like strong language and just types of people you normally wouldn't like being around, go look at Joe Rogan's interview with him. That thing is legendary. But yeah. Yeah, Kimberly Young, I got mine too. I don't know where to get it blessed. I'm afraid to take it to my to my parish because it's an FSSP parish. You know what I mean? Mr. Jordan, I bet no Republics. See a feeling. I don't know who Father Al Lauer is. Gene went to church this morning, had to social distance and everything. Only 95 people were let in. Ouch. I mean, we had like 3 masses instead of 2 on Sunday, and they just issued the parishes, or the FSSP just issued their reassignments, which coincides with like all the diocesan reassignments going on. And our associate pastor, I think, just got promoted to being a pastor in another part of the country. So we're going to keep him in our prayers, though. Mountain Lover, thoughts on Bishop Williamson? He has no filter. If you want to learn about the 7 ages of the church, there's an amazing talk from him on the 7 ages of the church. You should go find that. You will learn more. I had a hard time making my 7 ages of the church video because I had watched his recently, and it was so hard to make one because it was like, I can't do one as good as his. And he was just sitting there at a chair at a table having a conversation with a small group of Catholics. The EWTN documentary on the Manipella was excellent. I'm thinking more of a wolf in sheep's clothing. The that Saul Alinsky. They're one on Saul Alinsky. I'm thinking about doing that one first. Oh, and then Campbell says, yeah, I bought mine from Mike Church's Founders Trading Post. And I'm going to I need to go back and watch it, and then I'll do a review on it. Teresa Nelson, there apparently is more than one Deacon Alex Jones. He was from the Detroit area, I think. If I'm not mistaken, he was from the Detroit area. That should help. There's a ministry's website that was up the last time I checked, which was shortly before his death. Bible warns against the fires of hell. Yeah. Yeah, doodle noodle, yeah. Now, Joe Rogan, that's the smug cousin you don't like. I like some of his interviews with some people. But, I have a hard time with anybody telling people to do, narcotics for the mind trip. That's in what you know. Well, I'm glad. That's what I do my Sunday streams for, which, by the way, reminds me, I'm planning to do another, I'm probably going to start streaming a second day of the week, probably in the morning. I'm going to try to time it for a day. It'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and because this week I have a We Were Warned video coming Tuesday, I'm not going to do it Tuesday morning. It'll probably be Wednesday. That's what I'm going to hope to do. And in the morning, I'm talking like 10 a.m. Central Time. Rebecca Phillips, you like Bishop Aaron apart from some of his problematic interpretations. Still a man of goodwill. We should keep all of our pastors in our prayers. I mean, especially in these times when we desperately, desperately need true Catholic leadership. They should all be kept in your prayers, especially if there's ones that, that they say some sketchy things, but they have potential. Thomas Keller, the Joe Rogan, Alex Jones episodes are hilarious. Jones is like a character himself. That is absolutely true. Most people don't realize that he'll tell you the things he believes, but he presents it in such an over-the-top way that makes him look insane. I think and that's part of his charm. It also doesn't help that I saw the anti-fascist protests in Portland back in 2016, sitting in a dorm room in Portland, Oregon. I watched somebody sent me a video of Alex Jones reviewing the video footage, and I sat there getting mortified by the fact that he seemed much more with a firm grip on reality and much more sane than the people I was seeing on video. And I knew some of those people. I should not be king of the United States. White chocolate, that power would go to my head, probably. EWTN's variety of scapulars fairly cheap. Do they have a purple one? Because if they do, that would be a good place to send people. To Tom Buchel, what's wrong with the FSSP? Nothing. I go to Mass with the FSSP. I'm just not sure how the, how my FSSP pastor is going to, our priest is going to react to me be going, hey, could you bless my purple scapular? You had a doctor who was a 32nd degree stone cutter and practiced a kind of medicine, which is, whoa. Yeah, I'm hoping you did run away from that. Teresa Nelson, Deacon Alex Jones died. Yeah, he died a couple years ago. That was really sad, too. His talk that was the talk I'm talking about is the one that Steve Ray introduced him on. Let me see if I can find it. Because and I'll put it in the chat for people. Because he just talks about his conversion, And it's so good. And let me see. And I typed his name into YouTube, and he became easily to find. But it's, he's easy to find, but the one I'm looking for is not. I've seen it on here before, though, so I know it's on YouTube. But he did a lot of, the Coming Home Network stuff, and, I actually, what I should do? Because I was starting to get tired of watching, Catholic commentators, because I didn't want to just start sounding like everybody. But for good Catholic content that is legitimately uplifts you, go watch the Coming Home Network. When you're feeling really down, go watch those videos. Those will make a lot of those, especially when you watch former Protestant pastors, people who were fully invested in their faith, who converted and gave everything up to convert, or the atheists who converted, or the the Satanists who converted. They have interviews with all of these people, and yeah, they're just amazing. And I honestly, I had forgotten to, to even look here. But I can't find the one I'm talking about, because the one I'm talking about, he's giving a talk in a conference center somewhere. So I'll have to look at that later. But see, I'm feeling 10 a.m. CST, you're killing me, Smalls. I say that 10 a.m. is a tentative time. It might be 11, maybe noon. I don't know. Colin McManaman says, shame on the Catholic employer. Yeah, they were. I do think they were out of order. Aaron Hook, I agree with your I agree with your take on the most entertaining the most entertaining Catholic, or the most entertaining, not Catholic, but probably alternative news provider alive. Have I ever played the Deus Ex game or seen some of the Red Medicine videos? No, I have not. I haven't played a new video game in 10 years. The last new video game I played was probably the Saints Row games, which I do not endorse. They're so crude and so crass, and they're so wonderfully bad. And I do emphasis on wonderful. They're a parody of the Grand Theft Auto games, to give you an idea. They're not family friendly, and if you want to keep, stay in a state of grace, I don't recommend them. But 10 years ago, I wasn't nearly as concerned with that stuff, so I did play those games, and I loved them at the time. Doodle Noodle, Our Lady of Fatima showed the children hell. They did, yes. Thank you for the sticky note, Rebecca Phillips. You've been sworn today. Well, let's see. Yeah, Timbuchel, the FSP blessed my brown scapular as well, and my wife's. Let's see. You have one sworn at. Finella says that you have been sworn at today was dumbstruck over social. You were fuming by once you got home. You tuned into the EWTN Mass and Rosary. We are living in very tense times, and I do recommend people stay safe. See a feeling 9-on-1, as I'm going to say that was an inside job. Alex Jones. I think that's the one. That's what Alex Jones we're talking about. We find him very entertaining. I don't suggest necessarily buying into everything he says, but if you understand he's an entertainer first, then you'll understand that stuff. I can't remember the last time I watched something of his, but Verum, amazing game. You like how you can simply incapacitate people instead of killing them. Oh, look at that. Well, that's an endorsement of the game, even though, I'm not an anti-video game guy. They're just not my thing. Thomas Keller, yeah, there's a lot of people don't know that he did if you really want to get deep into our ruling class, go look up his video on the Bohemian Grove spy mission. It's on YouTube. You can find it. I've seen it. In the late 90s, he snuck onto into the place where a lot of the ruling class meet. It's if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, start looking up that subject. Sounds like I could do with a break. Look after myself. I'm just tired, is all. That's all. I'm just tired. It's a long drive to and from Mass. Then I had lunch, and it just made me a little tired. KU says his return to Catholicism was realizing how much of a poser, fraud, and liar he was as a faithless narcissist. That and demons were trying to enter your body in the middle of the night. That sounds interesting. Mine is very convoluted, so that's why I haven't talked about it, because I need to figure out how to talk about it. All I know is that it's going to be. I wanted to write a book called "How Heavy Metal Music Led Me to Jesus Christ," just as a provocative title, but I would eventually need to find it. So, Kimberly Young, thank you for the thought, and I'm glad that there are people who do listen to those encyclicals. That was, by the way, how I knew my channel was getting throttled, because back in those days, because of my subscription size, I knew how many views an encyclical should get on a weekend, and they started getting half of that, and that's when I knew my channel was getting throttled before. Your niece is the voice of Princess Zelda. No idea what it's about, but your caregiver gets excited. It's a standard. Those games are your standard hero goes and rescues the princess fantasy game. I mean, they all have a different plot, but Kimberly Tancred says, you're a convert from nearly every type of religion imaginable. Always felt something missing. You found him in the Eucharist. Yeah, and I had the first few times I validly received communion in a Novus Ordo parish. I had a religious experience, and it wasn't an emotional thing. It was something else entirely. So I know you'll find that the Christ is truly present in the Eucharist at those parishes. But I still took my family to traditional masses. Jeremy DXX Mankind of ID can technically sleep dart everyone in the so-called adult district and drag them in front of the church further down the city map. That is funny. Rosanna Rousey, you had to change your mind on gamers because of your daughter's fiance. That's cool. Yeah, I don't blame people for it. I used to play a whole lot of tabletop role-playing games years ago. And the worst I can say about it is it's a profound waste of time that's bad for your physical health. People should get out in the sun sometime. But, that's the worst I can say about it. The Bohemian Grove video by Alex Jones, Red Pill, your neck. Yeah, no, it's an amazing video. People should watch it. led me to the Church Fathers might be catchy too. Yeah. I did start reading the Church Fathers while I was in RCIA. I didn't get all the way through it. I found a Kindle copy or something, or an electronic ebook copy, and I spent weeks and weeks and weeks reading it, and then I saw I was 1% of the way through, and that was kind of depressing. Keeping that heavy metal thing. Care to share a broad outline? There's one other person because of metal. It's simple. I remember listening to. I was walking down walking down the street in suburban west of Portland, Oregon, on a spring day, getting very tired of anger and how angry the music was, and I could hear in the voices of these guys that these guys were like talking about real things. They weren't just sitting there praising evil or anything like the stupid stereotypes, but they were just, there was something missing, and I was like, and I got tired of just all anger all the time, and then the melodic songs were just depressing, and so I finally put out what practically was a prayer of like, where is all the life affirming, good, positive music in this genre? Because you can find any genre of music in that genre. It's a fact. And a couple days later, I was reading a metal blog, and they were talking about this musician who had been the lead singer of an extreme industrial metal band, and the rock and roll lifestyle nearly killed him, so he quit, and he started producing records, and then put out a joke album where he played every song himself on it. And the joke record was a concept album about an alien warlord who attacked the Earth for its coffee, which fueled its trans-dimensional time drive. It sounded hilarious to me, so I went and downloaded it, and the story was fairly superficial, but it was some of the most beautiful music ever, and almost none of it was angry. The heavy songs, the really aggressive songs, weren't angry. And I started looking at this guy's catalog, and he had a lot of solo stuff out there like that, and it was life. He has a song that's, praising what it was like when he, saw his child born, and so that's all I listened to for a couple of years, and that was a very critical moment in my conversion process. So that's all I'll say on that for now. But yeah, it's a good list of books on subversion inside the church. Una Iota is probably one. It's not a small book. Neither is the Rhine Flows into the Tiber. Those are not small books, but those are essential, and they're very serious books too. They're like, and I'm serious. I mean, like they take time to read, but it's a sort of an interconnected web. Like before I started really getting into my dissertation revisions, I was reading Constance Cumby's book on the New Age movement, and that's part of it too. In the opening chapter of that book, she talks about Teilhard de Chardin. So, I mean, this is all interconnected. Peter Jensen, tabletop gaming D&D in principle is great. The actual sessions were awful. Right, yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, the worst thing I can say about it is it's a waste of time. Like, it can lead to dark things, but so can anything else. I think people can make idols out of their hobbies. In fact, I think that's a major problem, but I don't know, Peter, about the 3-chord boring stuff, because that's on the bands that I ever liked. But then again, I always had very distinct. I always was very discriminating of bands I liked. But it's just that I don't know. I was looking for something better, and I was given music by someone who was very attuned to that there was more to life than that, and was looking for beauty, and he made music that was legitimately beautiful. And that opened the door for the true, the good, and beautiful. And the problem was, it satiated that hunger for a little while, as that stuff will, but really what it did was it made me hungry for the true, the good, and the beautiful. And that's, it was a critical moment. I should do a video on guardian angels. If I did, I'd be just quoting Father Ripperger a lot, Tony. But he is right that most people spend a lot of time talking about demons, but they rarely talk about their guardian angels. Novella says, try eBay for Bibles or Etsy. You bought a family-style DR Bible that was $245 for $28, printed in 1938, still in its box and cello wrap. That's cool. I bought a family-style Bible that was damaged, and I need to get it fixed, and I bought it to put it up on eBay, and I just need to get it fixed. But it's a beautiful Bible, and I would keep it myself, but I have like an identical one of it already that's in fine shape. Peter Jensen, that metal album I mentioned sounds like a standard Rhapsody album there. It's not by that band. It's the Devin Townsend Project. My cast on communism this week have been awesome and particularly timely. Thank you. I felt motivated to do that stuff when I started watching things and I realized what I was watching. Thomas Henderson, Alice Cooper is not Catholic. He's an evangelical. But yeah, I have a old documentary on that genre of music, and they interview him, and he literally laughs. He's an evangelical Christian. He laughs at the idea that the music is demonic. He just says, you're going to find scarier stuff in Halloween. I think the most demonic music is like top 40 pop hits, actually. That stuff disturbs me greatly, because that's them all the time. Rebecca Phillips, yeah, I'm aware of the interpretations of the devil that he was having. I think that you're going to find in the entertainment industry in general a lot of that stuff. I don't think it's a coincidence. Peter Jansen, 90s new metal is awful stuff for the most part. I'm old enough to remember that stuff. Most games today are bad, especially for kids. This is true. E. Carpengena, your message was retracted. I hope we answered whatever it was you were saying. Another problem with people talking about angels, demons is they talk about the devil like he's a god of evil. He's not. He's just a tempter. That's why my favorite interpretations of the devil have either been as a seductor or as a lawyer. Another good one would be a used car salesman. Actually, there was a movie from the 80s that I remember had that redheaded guy who was in almost every bad comedy in the 80s, and John Ritter. And the redheaded guy from Beetlejuice was the guy who sold satellite TV that literally took you to hell. You need to go find that movie. If it's as bad as I remember from being a kid, it means it's worse. I remember it being pretty bad, which means it's probably worse than I remember. But I do remember it does seem to be poignant with it was like, cable television led you to hell. Cool dude, death metal? Nope, not into it. Not because I think it's all about death, because it's not. There's a thing. It's just too much for me. Why not get a bookbinder to fix it? I plan to. I just don't know what it's going to cost. And there's a bookbinder like 2 blocks from my house, actually, and they specialize, I think, in Bibles. So top 40 is more stonecutter crap, pretty much. Teresa Baker, Guardian Angel, the stories that you could tell about life-saving stories would make you smile and give goosebumps. I have some of those myself. You ever get that feeling where you're going to go do something, you just get this distinctive "don't do it" feeling? I think that's your guardian angel tapping on the shoulder. Thomas Keller, The Devil's Advocate, is spot on that one, and I think it's what's the old Brendan Fraser movie? Not a comedy I recommend again because it's it's got a that era's sex symbol actress in it, but she plays the devil. She uses the other way. So Jeffrey Jones and Stay Tuned. Thank you, Peter Jansen. Yeah, you remember. I think that was a very unintentionally poignant depiction of the devil. Have I read Mystical City of God by Mary Eva Great? I have 4 books. No, I have not. I haven't had a chance. Nope, not into it, saying it's bad. Yeah, cool, dude. I'm not. Yeah, it's not for me. Again, there's just so far I'm willing to go with that stuff. Like, I tell people I cannot condemn any form of popular culture, and I can't partially because when I discerned the priesthood years and years ago, a book I read was Fulton Sheen's The Priest Is Not His Own, and he says explicitly in that book that a priest should have one foot in the world and one foot in like the mystical world. Essentially, they need to know what's going on in the culture, and if that's true of the priest, then that's got to be true for us. Yeah, Thomas Keller, Bedazzled. Yeah, those movies are. With caution, because they're not like pornographic or anything, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're family friendly. Anthony, you know that I'm not a big Trump fan, but come election ones, most whoever pro-life candidate. I thought, well, the church says that if you pretty much we have a duty to vote for the pro-life candidate. That's what the church says. And I'm not anti-Trump. I have a nuanced take on the guy. There are some things he's done that I find absolutely reprehensible, and they're nothing to do with his personal life because he says he doesn't do it anymore, and you have to take him at his word. But I don't approve of using the State Department to promote the James Martin agenda internationally. He's done that. I'm not a fan of that at all. But that having been said, the alternative is unthinkable, right? And he is Moloch. I don't. Short of some catastrophe happening, I plan to be there on election day. Bad, Anthony. What are you referring to? I've already lost my track of that. Oh, my first videos is what you mean? Yeah, some people had some hard time with the audio though, and so that's why I'm going to redo that Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich one. It's not the first one I've redone. The first video I redid was one of my Hilaire Belloc ones. The first one I redid, and I can't remember which one it was, but it says like Redux or something in the title. The best interpretation of the devil is in the brothers Kazamarov. Meh. There we go. I can't speak anything today. In Ivan's Devil Vision. I need to go revisit that. It has been so long since I read that. If I read Talking with God by Alphonsus, I have not. The story is Padre Pio and his interaction with others guardian angels. That is, Padre Pio is on another level. Have I read Dark Agenda, but you can't remember his name? No, but if you can find a link online to a book listing or an essay or something of it, send it to me, Teresa. I'd love to read it. I can tell my work is going to be has taken a strange turn here in the last couple of months, and it's probably going to keep doing that. Aaron Oak, thanks for the super chat. If the U.S. finally recognizes the mistake of 1776, the Queen should appoint Charles Colomb as governor and me as military, with the mission to restore sanity to the place. I think the sanity is going to be restored in Portland by, if the vision of Wormwood is of any accuracy, I suspect you don't want to be anywhere near a Pacific coast at that time. The Pacific Ocean takes up a rather large percentage of the world, and I could easily envision a tidal wave wiping out Porn Valley, San Francisco, and Seattle and Portland and all those places. And I have family and friends in those places, and I keep telling them, you should move to the Midwest. If I am interested, Tyler Marshall just dropped a video interpreting the letter Archbishop Vigano just released to President Trump. Yeah, I saw that he was streaming at the same time as I was, and I saw what it was about. I put up my own video today about Vigano. I included both his recent letters in it because I didn't include his previous one in my coverage of it because his other one was like a minute and a half long to read. But I put it in there today because he references that. So go check it out. Are movies near occasion of sin? Depends on the movie. There was a homily that was put up on Sensus Fidelium some time ago where the priest there talks about how so many traditional Catholics and Catholics in general have taken on a Calvinistic mindset about this stuff, and we need to stop it. You just got to be discerning. Discern. So there are Christian film guides out there. They might be done by Protestants, but they're still going to be pretty safe, for the things that they're going to tell you if there's gross sexual stuff in it or grotesque violence. I wouldn't if you're watching, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, yeah, probably. If you're watching, I don't know, some violent action movie, maybe. I don't know, it depends. Do Babette's Feast is a really good movie. I think Father Wolf has recommended this movie. Yeah, I actually haven't seen it. That's one of the things that's going to be fun about doing these film reviews is I have had a hard time finding good Christian movies that were made in the last couple decades. Most Christian movies today are not that good. I remember I was the guy who didn't like Paul, Apostle of Christ. I loved the scenes with Paul and Luke together, but I didn't like the movie. Those prophecy movies, Christopher Walken. I'm not sure how I feel about a movie where Gabriel is a quasi-fallen angel, but I remember those movies. I watched those years ago, in the 90s. Have you ever thought about doing something on the Divine Comedy? I'd have to reread the Divine Comedy. I read those when I was 12, literally. Portland's in need of a good smiting, unfortunately, and I've got family and friends there. Portland issues relate to pizza. If you mean pizza as in that sort of political sense, the word pizza, I don't know if Portland has any organized issues like that. I just know that the Marxists organized their political takeover of that state back in the 70s, and in the 80s, the last time they had that. Portland hasn't had a conservative mayor since the 70s, I think, or earlier. And the state of Oregon hasn't had a Republican governor since the 1980s. And then they got vote by mail, which is part of the reason the polls usually don't match up. Would you go to an SSPX resistance or independent mass if it was near you? That's a good question. I find the SSPX resistance position interesting. I don't know what you mean by an independent mass, because some independent priests are sedevacantist, that's a little too far for me. But depends on who. I guess it would depend on the SSPX priest. I would just take their position about whether to go with them from what the Vatican says about the SSPX in general. Even though for those who don't know what the SSPX resistance are, they're the people who think they're the group of priests who think that the SSPX are too liberal, basically, or that they're playing kissy face too much with the Vatican. Healing Archbishop Semple may prevent PDX's total smiting. I hope. We can hope. I was there when he dedicated when he consecrated the archdiocese to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, or not Immaculate Heart of Mary through Our Lady of Fatima. I was there when that statue was there. I was at that mass. New book, The Last Mass of Padre Pio, spot on. To be Floyd, watch it. Again, send me emails with these film reviews suggestions, because I'll make a list. What about Wind River, adult topic for sure? I haven't seen that movie. Goodfellas. Those mobster movies that have like bloodbaths in them. I've said on previous live streams, that I've got a soft spot for like 80s action movies, but that's not the same thing as like those mafia movies. Those mafia movies are gross. Let's see, Teresa Baker Carl. Dark Agenda is about the intention to destroy the Catholic Church, which led to the destruction of all churches, including our elder brothers. Yes. Okay. Yeah, if you want to send me a link or something about it, that'd be great. Italy is Catholic to the bone, and they made those super gory yellow horror movies. You need a Catholic to really capture gore. Well, Memento Mori. Go look at some Catholic artwork from the Middle Ages. It's wonderful stuff. Continental Man. So, no. Have I seen this? Let's see. Well, thank you, Kimberly. I do appreciate that you like the chats. It's weird. Like, I mean, I wish I had like the sort of the. It's one of the reasons I want to start do a second chat a week. Actually, is live stream a week is partially to be able to talk to people who don't have a chance to participate in these, but also I'd like to get better about live streaming to the point where I could live stream like some of the other live streamers if I wanted to. Let's see. And I actually really dig that there are people in the chat talking to each other. That's really cool to me. Because of the problems of the church, you've decided to start your own society, the Society of Pope Alexander VI. Well, I'm hoping you've got the resources to be a good friend of the arts, because he was. Also, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that Pope Alexander VI is where we get the Angelus from. Seriously, go look that up. Pretty sure Pope Alexander VI gave us the Angelus. One of the people one of the figures that gets called one of the worst popes in history, and probably rightly so, gave us the Angelus. Now think about that. So full of meat, keto diet aside. Well, thanks, Teresa. McNeenan, welcome. Hello to you from Ireland. What do I think of the consecration of the U.S. to Our Lady that happened a little while ago? I think that was a good thing. I mean, consecrate the country to Our Lady, unequivocally good. It's unequivocally a good thing. I was surprised to see it, honestly. I was a little disappointed to see the bishops say that they didn't think Our Lady of America was real. I'm going to take Bishop or Cardinal Burke's word on that, though, because he thinks it was. No purple scapulars yet at EWN, that's bad. Horror genre, just bad news? Yeah, in general, I mean, it depends. Like, technically Jaws is a horror movie, and I like that movie. But that's also a movie about characters that just happen to have a killer fish in it. But, Catholic culture can definitely translate like the darker aspect of things, because we have an understanding of death and what it is and the demonic. Best Catholic country to move to in Europe right now, Poland. Don't know. I've been seeing some of my friends online having chats about that, though. And remember last fall when the exorcists asked for a day of prayer because they were seeing so much activity? And then Pachamama happened. Yeah, I do remember that. I think I did a video on that. I think I did a video in like September about that, actually. I heard of the Mazza thesis. Dr. Mazza did a show with Marshall investigating the thesis that Benedict XVI resigned as Bishop of Rome, which Francis is now, but not the office of Vicar of Christ. I've heard it. I do not possibly understand how that could be legitimate. And by legitimate, I mean how you could have a position where you have that office split like that. I mean, I understand the argument, but I don't understand like the thinking that goes behind it. I mean, he's either Pope or he's not. Again, it's one of those topics that's above my pay grade, so it's why I find, informed, people who are trained in this stuff to talk about, so it's, I stick to my Catholic social teaching stuff and my, political science stuff, and we'll listen to the theologians talk about their thing because they tend to be more authoritative on this stuff than I am. Sharks are like small chastisements for peaches. Well, I mean, if, people forget that the ocean is, the wilderness. It's, if you go into a jungle in South America and you see an anaconda, you're not shocked by it. So why would you be shocked to find sharks in the ocean? Novella Nerdy, Sharknado. Yeah, that movie that movie series almost killed that whole like genre of movies, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I wish something would get rid of zombie movies for a while. I'm so sick of those movies. They started out as interesting social commentary, and now they're just disgusting. You live in Hawaii, Jaws ruined your childhood, which is funny because that water there is too warm for that kind of shark. But at least I think it is. But then again, I've been to Australia. They've definitely got warm water, and they definitely have a great white shark problem. So I don't know what the truth is. Yeah, if anybody wants to click like on the stream, that would be mucho appreciated. And it looks like the stream is actually working in terms of being able to see, concurrent viewers, updates, and things like that. But let me go check my other video, my other window. Yeah, it's up to date, so I'm going to close that window out. So it's going to say I'm at 104 probably. Or, there goes, it dropped 2. Let's see. I'm glad people are still watching my Vegano video. I don't normally put videos up on weekdays, you know what I mean? Entertainment mostly lacking depth. When you do force depth in entertainment, it's usually decadent and corrupting. Right, this is why, I was talking to my wife about this, saying, it's kind of weird. I want to watch Jaws again, and I kind of want to see what newer movies like that are like, but I already know what they're like. They're going to be ridiculous CGI sharks with tepid stories, no character development, and probably decadence on screen, and pass. Moral question: was Jeremy Renner justified in his actions in Wind River? Just yes or no, no spoilers. I haven't seen Wind River, so if anybody else wants to say, without giving spoilers, let us know. What about the claim the Cardinal Siri is the actual Pope ever since the conclave held after Pope Pius XII died? I don't buy it. I just don't. I don't buy that one, and I don't buy the Siri thesis, and I don't buy the... it just doesn't make sense. Honestly. Having a hidden line of popes for this long. Plus, if you look at the people who followed Siri, there's a lot of weird, sketchy stuff going on. We were at the dirty number. Tom Buchel says you haven't watched any movies for the last 5 years. I haven't taken my wife to see a movie since before my 19-month-old son was born. She wasn't pregnant when when the last movie we saw, which was she really likes The Greatest Showman, and I have to laugh because that movie is a wonderful example of Hollywood propaganda. They turned one of the most a very reprehensible figure from the 19th century into a hero, into a folk hero, with terrible music and terrible dancing. Thank you for liking the stream, McNeenan. You can't make a bad movie on purpose. That's what people fail to realize. Maybe, I don't know. I guess you're right. One of my favorite action movies is Schwarzenegger's Commando, and I think he got handed a script that he realized was so bad that he decided to ham it up, and that's what saved that movie. But yeah, I think I get your point. There are people who give it because people, they're given a script, they think is great, and a studio funds it to the tune of millions of dollars. So no one thinks it's going to be bad. It just usually happens. Drive-through. Endangered Species says drive-through confessionals packed, 5 priests in cars, 30-minute line for wait. Nice to see today. I'm glad that there are people going to confession. That is such a good sign. We went to the parish near us for confession, and we were the first ones there, but we timed it to be the first. And we waited around for somebody who told us that they were going to come there because they had something for our kid, and there wasn't that many people at confession there, but if you're seeing more people going to confession, that is a good sign. All things considered. Rebecca Phillips, 101 out of 83, help your boy out for the coding. Dangerous Species, you're welcome for the Vegano video. I was going to save that for tomorrow, but I decided against it. Thoughts on Father Charles Coughlin? He gets a bad rap in history, honestly. He got basically slimed because he came out against Roosevelt. That's why. He had nice things to say about about the fascists, and don't lump the Germans in with the fascists. But he had nice things to say about things that you shouldn't have nice things to say that are thought to be thought crimes, and that's why he's been blacklisted. But he taught Catholic social teaching, and that's what got him in trouble. Kimberly Tancred, I went to Mass today, got to receive communion today, so yes. Doctor Who is back. Well, welcome back again. Let's see. You came out at Universal Studios and met Jaws, came out of the water right next to me. The poor man sitting next to me, that's funny. He only wants to see 1917. That movie does look kind of cool. I heard it was actually good. A realistic war movie is going to be violent. It's going to be hard to watch, but that's kind of the point with the really realistic ones because they're meant to be hard to watch. What do I think of Kevin Smith's Catholicism? Is he actually Catholic? I know he's a member of the church, but The things I've seen him say on other things make me suspect. And that's a really bad thought to have. I shouldn't have those kind of thoughts. But, when you got a guy out there endorsing Moloch worship, what can you say? Thomas Keller Commando was hilarious. It's probably my favorite 80s action movie because it's so bad it's good. And I found out watching a YouTube video about how Die Hard was made, that they originally, one of the ways they were going to make Die Hard was to make it a sequel to Commando with Schwarzenegger in it. Can you imagine that movie with Schwarzenegger? It'd be so ridiculous. Thoughts on Taxi Driver? I haven't seen that. Watching RDJ and Tropic Thunder was the funniest non-PCC in movies today. That's, I haven't seen, I did see that movie years, some friends of mine had me watch that movie with them, and I'm like, that's not even an old movie, and you can't get away with that today. Yeah, Hewing, Kevin Smith made Dogma. Yeah, that movie is very troubling. The girl who starred in Commando was one of the girls that the rock stars traded when she was an underage. Ugh. I could have lived well without knowing that one. Thank you. Let's see. Bad theology slice against Christ movies. That's why those modern French from horror movies are garbage. Let's see. Gotta see 1917 on a big screen IMAX if possible. Rebecca says she would actually rather hear an F-bomb than... Right, it's weird. I didn't ever used to be like that, but now, I blanch when I hear, our Lord's name in vain, and you'll see that on broadcast television. Kimberly Tancreed, you had to wear masks at Mass. There were only 2 people wearing masks at Mass today at my parish. One was a random person there, and the other was the priest when, after he consecrated the host, he put a mask on to give communion, but he didn't have gloves on. So no gloves, but he did have a mask on. It's nothing to do with Wi-Fi. Literally, cameras are in every new electrical gadget. Well, I just got a digital thermometer for my smoker. I hope whoever's the clowns in action are having a good time watching my driveway when I'm smoking pork loin in a couple days. I haven't watched Memento by Christopher Nolan. I've heard that's good, though. Weekend at Bernie's. If you want some insight into what the Democratic Party is doing right now, watch Weekend at Bernie's. Anyway, back to some headlines. Let's see what's going on here. Service dog makes a Catholic school's yearbook. Fun fact, it's been 1,356 days since Pope Francis received the Cardinal's dubia on Amoris Laetitia. Canon 212 is, I do find Canon 212 to be a very, the amount of work Frank Walker puts in is laudable. It's astonishing, really. And his headlines, always good for a chuckle. Let's see. Some of the stuff I can't even say, though, on a live stream, unfortunately. That is just the nature of the way things work right now. The series of Chosen is very good. Slavko, do they show Our Lady giving birth to Christ? And if so, do they have her in labor pains, yes or no? If they show her in labor pains, turn it off. Thanks, AMD. I hope you like my joke. Let's see. Jansen, nudity, gore, and cussing can be enjoyed when it stays safely in cheeky 12-year-old territory. I'm not sure about nudity, but, when it comes to gore, it depends what you mean by gore, right? I'd say I like 80s action movies. Those things are a lot more bloody than modern action movies are. But there's certain, let's put it this way. My wife and I are my kid is 19 months old, which means here, probably in about 3 months, he's going to figure out how to use the DVD player on his own without me teaching him. And so my wife and I have packed up all of, the movies that we don't want to watch around him. Your priest had an acolyte hold a patent over his mouth when he distributes the Eucharist. Really? That's odd, but okay. Speaking of the party of Moloch, have you seen the documentary from D'Souza, Death of a Nation? If yes, what do you think about it? I'm not a fan of D'Souza. I get tired of the that party or the real racist thing he says. I get tired of it. It's like everything he does seems to be like that. So after a while, it gets tiresome. Which outlets do I get my main news from? All sorts of them, honestly. I spend a lot of time looking at news. Thomas Gar, you can't follow his headlines. Yeah, I did not for everybody. McNeenan, I did a video on that. I think that was a Vegan one that I did. You should go watch it, because I handled that one slightly differently than the usual ones. Bob the Builder says Chosen has Harry in it. By the way, Bob, that's a good YouTube handle. I approve of that. Nativity, our Lord portrayed to have birth pain, heresy alert. Yep, that's one to avoid. Speaking of war movies, I do cringe at the idolatry of the greatest generation in the post-Saving Private Ryan era. Yeah, there's a video that did that I think it was a Father Ripperger talk. It was either him or Father Wolf on Sensus Fidelium, where they talk about the sins of each generation and what they bring. The things that they do sets the stage for the next generation. And he goes back to the greatest generation and before. So it's definitely a good one if you can figure out which one it is. It's been so long since I've seen it, I couldn't find it. The Archdiocese of Philadelphia put out rules, and each church has their own rules. Yeah, you better go find out which arbitrary rules you're following this week. At a Marian chapel, if they had mass outside crowded like outdoor concert, felt good. Your first mass after lockdown, Marians have it together. I'm glad people are starting to get to mass. McNeenan, beware more attacks. I'm guessing you mean on Our Lady are to come, and I would expect so. I expect so. I can't even remember which one of the Marian apparitions I did a video on, but it was how, like, the thing that finally got Our Lady to stop begging God to not chastise us, instead start begging him to chastise us, was when they tried to tear our Lord out of her arms, which I don't even know what that means. And I don't want to know what it means, but I suspect I'm going to be alive to find out. Birth pains in The Chosen too. All right, well, I won't be watching that then. To drop such a title underlies the thesis, what it bounds of his role. Thomas Keller, D'Souza is a grifter. Laura Ingram, most modern conservative commentators. All talk, all little action, typical National Review behavior. I'm not a fan, if people can't tell, of the establishment conservative mindset. I am a traditionalist. I don't call myself a conservative. I'll use the term conservative because people don't understand what being a traditionalist means. And of all the mainstream political ideologies, obviously conservatism is probably the most palatable and the most easy to live with, but it's not something I call myself. The radical depiction of Our Lady in Chosen is in a Christmas special, not part of the episodes currently viewable. The producer mentioned he was called out by Catholics for it. Oh, well, there you go. Cool Dude asks if the previous First Lady becoming VP is that the scariest thing possible. If that happens, then you're going to see Joe Biden as president, and then Michael Obama will become president shortly thereafter. Colin McMenamin likes my recommendation for the Coming Home Network. Yeah, no, seriously, if you need some white pills in this day, our Lord and the Holy Ghost are still at work in people's lives and in their hearts today. And the content on the Coming Home Network channel is all the proof you ever need of that. I really need to get caught up with some of that stuff. Gotta be careful, buddy. So let's see. Sorry, Anthony, my message related to Mr. Francis dropping the title Vicar of Christ. In fact, it seemed to drop from radar. Oh, no worries. I just, there's so much going on, and all that stuff I feel like is above my pay grade to a certain degree. It's just, I don't know. Like, I think if, I do say there needs to be more people getting into this, but they need to remember their place. They need to know what their limits are, and I can't tell anybody what their limits are. It's between them and their conscience and God, I guess, but, I know what my limits are, and that's why I don't speculate too much on that stuff. I'm interested in those topics. I just, I don't feel comfortable going off on them. Today, the thought passed your mind that things might be getting better in respect to normality, and after that, you thought a little more and realized where we are given that the state of the church. Yeah, I do think the state of the church is almost exactly why things are as bad as they are right now. I think the church, the increasing degradation of the world and rise of perversity is directly related to the fact that the church doesn't stand up against this stuff publicly anymore. Yes, there are good bishops. Yes, there are good priests. And yes, there are good holy laity who do stand up. Could you imagine if Francis came out tomorrow and gave a homily talking about, and he did it where he knew, like, let's say he was on an airplane giving, one of his airline press conferences, and he came out defending the traditional family. Think about that. As the late Canon Hess would say, you're not a conservative, you're just a Catholic. That's true. You see, there's, like, because if you call yourself a conservative, it comes with a lot of policy baggage that I'm not going to adopt. Like, I'm not against, per se, like, universal health care, per se. I just have some questions. Like, subsidiarity, solidarity, and the common good are kind of essential parts of Catholic social teaching. So tell me how you're not going to have the state dictating people's lives and pulling the plug on their lives. How do we avoid an Alfie Evans? Tell me that. Got a lot of questions about that stuff, before I'm even going to hear arguments about funding. Because that's important, but it's not as important as the moral questions. Hillary's still scarier. Well, she's being subpoenaed by the Senate. So she lost a court case. She just lost a court case where they told her, no, you have to go, if subpoenaed, to testify under oath. Timothy Floyd says he hears somebody shrieking. Yeah, that's my kid. He woke up from his post-mass nap. Are we in a state of mortal sin by not attending Mass? I think at the end of the day, it's, if your bishop gives you a pass to not go, I erred on the side of not going because when the Mass, where was I going to go anyway? But, the SSPX chapel in my area I'm pretty sure was closed. There were the only set, like the Sedevacantist chapels in my area. Well, they were, making you, they were the CMRI, which, I'm pretty sure they make you sign an oath against, the church or something. So, or against, the institutional church as it is now. And I'm not real, that's way too far for me. When Mass comes back, listen for changes to words at Mass. The consecration words will change, and then it will no longer be the body and blood of Christ. It will no longer be Mass. Yeah, I fear that might come. I'm not too worried about it with the traditional Masses, but, if you start seeing some really weird changes to the 1962 liturgy, there you go. Healing along with what Vigano was saying, in relation to his previous comment on Hillary. Yeah, I don't think we're done with Mrs. It Takes a Village. There's a general dispensation for the whole country. Yeah, there is. There's a whole dispensation for the whole Western world, but at the end of the day, how far does that go? Again, it's above my pay grade, but I think it's not a coincidence that things have gotten so bad once the Mass became much harder to get. Catholic should be the same thing as conservative. Sort of, but, I reject the liberal notion of conservative. And I use liberal in the classical liberal sense because it's not a good ideology. It really isn't. It's a radical individualist ideology, and the church condemned it. It condemned it in Libertas. It condemned it in the book Liberalism as a Sin, which had an imprimatur from the Vatican, published during, the anti-modernism period. All these ideologies were condemned by the church. There will be signs in the moon and stars. Heads up, watch the moon. It turns 180 degrees every night like a clock, which means that the Earth is turning. Check every 3 hours, Polaris in the east. If you got an endangered species, send me an email with some information on that if you would. I wouldn't be surprised if I know you're referencing essentially a pole shift or something. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but you wonder in this lockdown if every priest is saying the required personal Mass. They better be. They take an oath to do that. Tupi Floyd squeaking, not shrieking. Yep, that was my kid. He's probably demanding to watch Winnie the Pooh. He's getting to that. He's getting to that age. You know what I mean? In relation to what the church did because of the affliction, it says in the Catechism we shouldn't miss it unless we are really sick. Oh, I know. But at the same time, this becomes a question of, can the bishops give you a dispensation from things? And, there are some doctors of the church who say that we should follow the dictates of a bishop, even if it's erroneous to a degree. And, how would you not anyway follow this one? Where are you going to go? Kimberly Tancred, isn't a conservative one who conserves tradition? You would think so. But I have seen many conservatives, when the online battles between conservatives and traditionalists started 6 months ago, they were putting out essays talking about how conservatives and traditionalists are not the same thing. And they put out essays that basically said that they were basically for the same thing that, progressives were for, just doing it a little slower. And that's not the first time I'd heard that. The first time I heard that was from a professor of mine who was a former Republican turned what he called conservative Green Party, which I don't even know what that means, but he basically says that conservatives will just want to do the change slow and incrementally. So the way I've always heard it is, the critique I've heard is that modern conservatives, especially like neocons, instead of a progressive driving the cultural bus 100 miles an hour towards the cliff, the conservative wants to drive it 20 miles an hour towards the cliff. That's what I've heard, and I haven't seen anything that contradicts that. You think the 1962 liturgy will be made more Cranmer-esque once Masses start again in England? Well, I don't know. You're probably thinking of the 1969 or 1970 liturgy, because the 1960, or you're thinking like the actual traditional Latin Mass liturgy, Byron, will be adjusted, because they made a minor adjustment recently. They added some Novus Ordo Saints to the thing, which, okay, whatever. I expected that. They haven't touched the consecration though. Did I ever read Darth Plagueis Star Wars novel? So what are my thoughts of it? I used to be a major Star Wars guy, and Disney did me a favor by helping break my my attachment to that franchise. But I did read that novel. I liked it. I don't know what I would think of it today. Teresa Baker Carl, your sister is a doctor. She's worrying about the elderly. She thinks the time is coming for them to put them down. She's the head of several nursing homes where the sick were sent. Ooh. You keep her in your prayers then. Keep the elderly in your prayers. They definitely need that. How old are the movies I watch? I haven't watched a new movie in a while. There are a couple new movies that are out that I kind of want to watch, but they're like continuations of franchises. So, but my wife's more of a TV person than I am. Conservatives more like libertarian. Modern conservatives are definitely like conservatarians, basically. Bishops can give us a dispensation from attending Mass, but we still have to keep the holy the Lord's Day. McNeenan, I have to approve this comment. Let's see. Your sister is not God, and she doesn't have the power to give euthanasia unless she wants to go to hell for eternity. McNeenan, I don't think she's talking about her sister giving that. I think she's worried about them pushing euthanasia. Father Rippiger wrote an article about conservatives versus traditionalists. Yeah, and I want to go find that article, actually. So, fam, if you want to send me that article, I'd love to see it. I'd love to send it to the traditionalists in my sphere. Do I ever listen to Gregorian chant? Highly recommended. Played down in the home. It keeps the demons away. Once in a while, I do. I also like Palestrina. But I these days I don't listen to a lot of music except if I'm at the gym. I tried like Palestrina and Gregorian chant for weightlifting, and it does not work. It just does not work. Have I watched A Man for All Seasons? Yes, I did watch A Man for All Seasons. Peter Jansen, as long as it has the Emperor in it, you're happy. Well, the Emperor is my favorite character in all of Star Wars, so but I can't say that as long as it has the Emperor I'm happy, because I will not watch Episode 9 of Star Wars. They brought him back, and I was so mad. I saw the clips from it, and it just made me cringe. I am with the Angry Nerd Brigade online about about what Disney has done to that franchise. But yeah, the Emperor is my favorite Star Wars character. Why? Because he's so over the top, ridiculous, and played by one of the finest actors from the London stage. Like, seriously. Kimberly Tancred says, Teresa, sadly, we are already there. As a nurse, only weeks after Maine passed the, do away with the Elderly Act, you had to help rescue your patient who was not dying to get off hospice. If anything is wrong, then the wine and bread are not consecrated. Yeah. I am the Senate. I don't even know why my voice is so gone right now. I'm going to just do the thing and we'll drink some water on air. Hopefully that'll help. I actually don't know what's wrong with my voice today. Bob the Builder, all up on one up you. Episode 9 was not only embarrassing, everything Disney has tried to make has been embarrassing, with the exception of maybe Rogue One, which was just a decent war movie with Star Wars stuff painted over it. They're labeling people too sick to live and then pushing DNA. Where are the civil libertarians in this? You attended an 8-hour spiritual warfare conference hosted by Liber Christo yesterday. It was amazing. There were talks by Kyle Clement, Dan Schneider, and Jesse Romero. Jesse Romero is legit. I like Jesse Romero. I like his fire. I like that when he speaks, you can just hear his love for the church and the Lord. He's got some terrifying, legitimately terrifying stories. Maggie McKee thinks I'm dealing with allergies. Probably. I've noticed my allergies in the last few days. And it's another reason for me to not be delivering pizzas anymore. And I say that because people are really paranoid about the affliction still. And if you sneeze around them, they think you're going to, be a typhoid Mary or something. We play Gregorian chant in the car and ramp it up. Windows open on a warm day. Awesome. Instead of the boom music the teenagers are playing. Wait, that's not music. Not a fan of that stuff. Do the residents eat healthy foods and have access to vitamins? Yeah, Jesse is very cool. When I lose the weight I want to lose and I get on and I start putting my face on live streams, I'll probably try to reach out to him. But for now, for now that's going to have to hold off. But let's see. If I could find that Deacon Alex Jones one is on my mind. Like, why can't I find it? It's so very annoying. Because he was a very good preacher. Disney's good when they work hard on a product. The early 90s work is great, but as soon as they start believing in their own hybrid greatness, they work turns to garbage. Thanks for the super chat, Colin. Yeah, I do tend to agree with Father Isaac Marie Relia that Disney is to be avoided. He's seen too many horror stories and heard them from exorcists. But the I let my kid watch Winnie the Pooh. I can't fathom how that stuff is dangerous. I think it's mostly like the princess stuff that gets really bad. Rebecca Phillips room evacuates. Yeah, pretty much. If you want to clear a room, just cough. Maud M says, conservatives just lagged liberals. Their existence is allowed to politically lock in the changes won by liberals and socialists. Right. How many times have you heard a conservative, and I mean conservative in the mainstream sense, how many times have you heard a conservative talking about wanting to roll back that 2015 decision that, as Charles Colomb describes it, rewrote the laws of reality? You know which one I'm talking about. It's the James Martin decision. How many conservatives have you heard talk about that? Probably none. Cuomo's solution to overpopulation. Do you think the Novus Ordo Mass should be replaced by the TLM entirely? If it happened overnight, it'd be a disaster. I do think you're going to see the TLM much more widespread in the future. If we're not heading towards, chastisement and Antichrist and all the rest of it, then you're probably in the immediate future, or now what I'm going to start calling, the Jacob Clearfield thesis, basically. If we're not heading to that reality either, then you're probably going to see the TLM much more widely present. And Terry Snell said Disney has been bad for quite some time. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the 90s stuff because I can see some of the 90s just bad stuff there too. Past 100 likes, which I appreciate. Mr. Romero was at the men's conference last summer. Yeah, I would love to see him speak, do public speaking. I'm hoping that now that I'm not, that I can focus on this and my other projects full time, that I can, the next month or two get a laptop, and there's a parish parish mission retreat that they do at my parish, and there's a certain rather high profile traditionalist priest they bring in. I won't say who it is because I don't want to get him in trouble or anything, but they bring him in, and I would love to be able to go to that and go stay up in the city during that. But things have to calm down first, and we'll see. Toopy Floyd says something he wants to do is get a couple friends to drive around 12th, 13th century armor as an armorer, blasting chant and crusade music. As long as someone films it, so you can become the living meme. White Chocolate. Whoa, what are these horror stories from exorcisms about Disney? All sorts of really bizarre stuff. Go listen to Father Isaac Marie Relia. Just go into open another tab for YouTube and just look up Father Isaac Marie Relia, and just do Disney. I'm sure you'll find something. What gets you about the boombox cars? Yeah, I really on the rare time when I'll listen to music when driving. You probably can hear my music outside the car too, but it's not that loud. Like, I want to be able to hear, like, law enforcement. Play Gregorian chant in your car in Hollywood. The Demons. Why do I hear boss music? Dumbo was another weird movie. Do you mean the classic Dumbo or that terrifyingly bad idea of a remake? I haven't seen it, but the trailer was enough for me to go, who thought this was a good idea? Teresa Baker Carl, the link to a Dark Agenda should be in my email. You can buy the book or get online. Perfect, thank you. It will save old people if the Mass is ad orientem. Well, the priest isn't going to cough on you if it's ad orientem. The greatest horror story in Disney is animator Milt Kahl. Don't know about that, but I suspect judging from his name, I suspect he's got a background where he was very good at marching, sort of in a goose-steppy fashion. Father Ping Pong was just on EWTN. Everything seems like a joke to him. Father Ping Pong. Do you mean Pastor Jimmy Martin of the Jesuit Church, or is that someone else? You haven't seen a movie where TV sitcoms in 20 years just lost interest in the agenda? Right, like the newest sitcom that I found myself enjoying was probably Frasier. That's saying something. Isn't Father Isaac with the Fatima Center? Yes, yes, Campbell. So just go to the Fatima Center and you can find and just do a search. There's a big search bar up top that lets you search all of YouTube. There's a second smaller search bar that's usually to the right and above videos, and you can just start typing and anything. It'll let you search for things in the channel's content itself. Jack Dawkins wants people to take London back from the leftists, encouraging people to counter-march on the 13th. Oh, pray for him then. Oh man, that could be either amazing or utter catastrophe. Keep them in your prayers. I would, 13th, that's a week. It's not long enough to do a novena, but I would almost look for a way to, I would suggest an organized rosary campaign for that to make sure there's peace. You want peace to prevail. Please. Father Isaac Murray, what was the rest? Disney. Just look up his Disney, what he says about Disney. There's probably either clips or you'll find a talk where he talks about it. It's scary stuff. Fam says, Father Isaac talks about a story with a girl being attached to a Disney article clothing and a Fatima Center talk titled Living the Fatima Message in the Family. That's the one. That's the one you want. Living the Fatima Message in the Family. That is a scary story, too. Father Martin from the Skittle Tribe. There you go. Yep. Pastor Jimmy Martin. Frasier is funny. I do agree. That just aged me. I'm 40. I was a little young when that show came out to watch it, but again, I don't like most new TV. All I see is, certain various kinds of propaganda on TV. Milt Kahl was the greatest animator of all time. What's wrong with his story? I don't know. I don't know anything about him, so. Once it come, everybody dislikes what I love is Get a Life and Meet the Pits. Never even heard of them. There are also 9-hour novenas. Okay, yeah. There you go. I'd forgotten about those. Maybe do a 9-hour novena if you can for that Dawkins counter march in London. Might be a good idea. I'm getting some error messages from YouTube, so I should probably call it here because, well, one, I've been on with you guys for a couple of hours now, which is great. But the other is, my wife, I'm sure, would like to see me. So, anyway, well, let's see. Father Martin from the Skittle Tribe, best new name for Jimmy. Yeah, I need to be careful covering that topic. I had a very generic video on that. I thought the one that I put up on YouTube or on BitChute, that was not that unusual of a video for me. I'd done a dozen videos like that in the past year at least, and they were all fine, but that one wasn't for some reason. Vatican needs to release a Fatima 3 side B album before Our Lady of Ekita drops Fire from the Sky mixtape. Yeah, I'm going to call it here, though, because it's probably time to go, see my kid and my wife. So, anyway, you all have a nice day. I'm going to, again, I have a We Were Warned video coming for you probably Tuesday unless something happens. And I'm going to try to do a stream probably Wednesday morning unless Dr. Marshall has a stream that early. I don't want to stream at the same time as him if I can help it, just to, because that's usually how he does things. So, anyway, you all have a nice afternoon and evening. And if you haven't gone to Mass yet, go to Mass if you can. If not, make that act of spiritual communion and, keep me in your prayers, please. Don't keep you in mind. Anyway.